As a past grant recipient and now a legacy leader, I give to ensure women have opportunities to thrive. Through the Women's Legacy Fund, we've supported financial literacy, mental health, and business education to create a strong community for generations to come.
I support the Women's Legacy Fund as a Young 100 member in loving memory of Allison LaVogue, and so that my sons grow up knowing the importance of supporting women and girls in their community.
Hey, John here. I'm a legacy leader for the Women's Legacy Fund. And you asked me why? Well, you did ask me why, and it's simple. Women have been taking care of me for my whole life, and donating to the Women's Legacy Fund, we can't think of a better way to pay it forward.
The fund supports organizations in our community that make lives better for women and girls. I'm a legacy leader, and I'm proud to be a part of the Women's Legacy Fund.
My name is Biz Steinberg. I serve as the CEO of Capslo. I am honored to be a founding legacy leader, and I support women and girls in this whole effort to help them all meet their potential.
Hello, I'm Anita Robinson, and I choose to invest in her because someone invested in me. I invest in the Women's Legacy Fund as a legacy leader in memory of my grandmother. She taught me strong values, ethics, tenacity, and to be the best that you can be. And I hope that someday I can inspire other young women and girls to also be the best that they can be. So thank you.
Hello all, and welcome to the 18th Annual Women's Legacy Fund online experience. I'm Linda Reitner, member of the Women's Legacy Fund Advisory Committee and a founding legacy leader.
And I'm Missy Reitner Cameron, a member of the Advisory Committee and a legacy leader. This is the second time a mother-daughter team has emceed this event, and the first time we've ever had to use this video contraption.
Why, oh why, are we dressed like this, you may ask? Well, you know, we like costumes, but this year we're celebrating 100 years of women's right to vote, and we wanted to make sure you're all registered and ready. Did you know the first White House protests were the suffragettes who, amid a world war and an influenza pandemic, took to Washington fighting for their right to vote?
Strangely familiar. It's true. This uneasy alliance of white, black, brown, highly privileged, and formerly enslaved women won the passage of the 19th Amendment 100 years ago. It took fighters representing all the women of our country to understand the importance of banding together for a cause. In the same way, our foremothers had the incredible foresight into the needs of women and girls in our county. The Women's Legacy Fund continues to fight for the health and wellness of women and girls.
Since 2003, our endowment has grown from $100,000 to over $1.6 million, and we have awarded grants of over $500,000. Without women banding together, this fund, like our vote, wouldn't exist.
Today is a strange and special day. While we're not all together in the same room, we're united in a cause that is dear to our hearts. We know the power of the purse and the strength in our numbers.
If you would like to learn more about what women need in our county, our study is available at tinyurl.com/WLF Report 2020. This study has detailed information regarding health, finances, childcare, safety, and more, and is a great resource for many of the nonprofits in our area.
We also want to make sure you know how to donate to the Women's Legacy Fund, since we aren't there to take your donation envelope or credit card. Please visit tinyurl.com/WLF donate to become a legacy leader, sustain your current legacy leader status, become a Young 100 legacy leader, or to just donate to the fund. We need to keep this fund strong to ensure we can support women and girls through this unprecedented time in our history. More information will be available at the end of this program.
We have a really wonderful program for you today, and you don't have to deal with that darn exit. No left-hand turn, right-hand lane, whatever. So sit back and enjoy this program.
First, we want to introduce Jane Sinton, a founding legacy leader, to tell you all about the history and growth of the Women's Legacy Fund.
Hi everyone. Well, it's a different kind of year, isn't it? We're so grateful to have you join us in this virtual platform to continue to support women and girls programs in this county. It's a year, I believe, when these women and their families need us the very most. I don't know about you, but when I think about how the pandemic has affected my life, it's minimal compared to the women who have lost jobs and don't know how they're going to manage to feed their families. The idea that we can make a difference in their lives is, in these unprecedented times, gives me a feeling of hope for our future. So on a less serious note, I've been tasked with telling you how the Women's Legacy Fund got started in 2003. Some of you may have heard this story, but we think it's worth telling again. In 2001, 3 years after the Community Foundation San Luis Obispo County was formed, the women board members of the foundation decided to explore starting a Women's Legacy Fund to benefit women and girls in our county that needed assistance. Fortunately, other community foundations had led the way, and in talking to many other foundations about their women's funds, we decided to go with the model from the Ventura Community Foundation that we felt best fit our community as well. That model was to ask 100 women to become legacy leaders by giving $1,000 each to start the endowed fund of $100,000. We felt that when we reached the $100,000 in the fund, it would give us enough interest to start giving grants to nonprofits in the county that assisted women and girls. So we women on the board do what women do. We formed an advisory committee. We opened our address books and collected names of women to invite to a luncheon, and then started creating some buzz around the fund with our friends. We had our first luncheon at the Shorecliff Hotel in Pismo Beach in 2003 with the CEO of the Ventura Community Foundation, Kate McLean, as our first speaker. She gave an inspirational speech on how women's funds have grown exponentially and how many lives they had been able to touch with grants from their fund. And then we heard from a young, educated woman who shared her heart-wrenching story of being in an abusive relationship and having the courage to leave in the middle of the night with her 2 children with the clothes on their backs. She had the courage, she said, to do this only because when the women's shelter encouraged her and offered her protection and a place to stay. She could have been any one of our daughters, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house when she finished. We had 60 women at that luncheon. We had no idea how long it would take to achieve the $100,000, but we estimated it might take 2 years. Those 60 women spread the word to their friends and relatives, and we were delighted and astounded that it only took 3 months before we had the $100,000. We were able to give away the first grants starting in the following year in 2004, and the rest is history. We now have more than 450 legacy leaders and $1.6 million in the fund. And most importantly, we've given away more than $500,000 in grants in these 17 years. And our annual luncheon last year had 650 women and men attend. We've had more inspirational luncheons since then. And along the way, the advisory committee has continued to raise the bar on what we're doing to help women by sponsoring the What Do Women Need survey done every 3 to 4 years so we can be sure we're addressing the true needs with our grants. In addition, I'm particularly excited that in order to bring along the next generation of legacy leaders, the committee's offered a donation plan called the Young 100 to young women and men 40 years of age or younger, giving them an opportunity to contribute $28 a month for 3 years to achieve legacy leader status. To date, 62 of those young women and men have made pledges to be legacy leaders, and 20 have paid in full. So you can see that this has been an amazing journey. We've made a difference in women's lives in this county, and we couldn't have done it without you, the women and men who have given to this fund. I don't know about you, but giving to this fund makes a difference in my life too. It gives me the feeling that I'm helping to elevate other women to be everything they can be. Please join me in making this our biggest year ever when these women may never need us more than they do right now.
Now, we want to share a video featuring the 2019 grant recipients that focused on girls' well-being and self-esteem. These programs have been impactful, and we want to make sure you can see how your giving creates programs of major importance to women and girls in our community.
My name is Joanna Dominguez, and I am the Senior Education Manager for People Self-Help Housing and also the Celebre Advisor. Celebre was started as a result of a generous donation from the San Luis Obispo Women's Legacy Fund, and of course as a result of the high need for encouraging young first-generation Latina women to further their education. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, only 17% of Latina girls obtain a bachelor's degree as compared to 23% of Black women and 43% of white women. So there's a huge need to encourage Latinas to continue their education and to dispel the myths and the negative stereotypes that are out there. The type of girls that I work with in Celebre are girls ages 14 to 20, first generation Latina girls. I'm there for them in whatever way they need in terms of academic support as well as emotional support and just understanding the whole scope of higher education. Sometimes it's not so much that they don't want it for themselves. I think they definitely do want to pursue that higher education, but the piece that's missing more often than not is the confidence in themselves, the confidence in their own abilities. I work with these girls and they're amazing human beings and so intelligent, but they don't see that for themselves. Someone hasn't told them that. Someone hasn't given them that, essentially held that confidence for them while they don't have it for themselves. And so I do that for them. I hold that confidence for them and I tell them how amazing they are, but it has to get to the point where they believe it themselves. And sometimes it just takes telling them over and over and having one little success after another one and they get it.
What I saw changing myself in the program Celebre was to not be afraid to show who I really am and to just be myself around anyone. I'm a shy person, so I feel like I would have been more reserved to myself and wouldn't have been able to talk to people.
I'm not a person who likes to talk in front of crowds and stuff,
like at school, but now it's like, oh, I'm not afraid to ask a question. Well, I still kind of am, but like it's improving. You don't just learn about like college and like what your adult life is gonna be. You learn that there's people out there that care about you and that want you to be successful, and you make new friends. You get to meet so many amazing people.
When I was a young girl, I was that celebrity girl. I was in the exact same situation. I grew up in a low-income agricultural household. I'm the oldest out of 6 siblings, and I didn't have anyone to guide me along, but there was this one program that I participated in, and they were my mentors, they were my guides in order to get me there. And if it wasn't for that college-bound program, who knows where I would be. And so that's the reason why I do what I do, because someone provided that for me, and it made a world of a difference in me furthering my education. And coming from a small little agricultural town, that's not very common, so I'm one very few, and I want to be able to give that back to my community and provide that for other girls as well.
I was always told I have to go to college or like school is good for you, but like learning more about it is like making me actually want to do it and not something my parents want me to do.
I would love for people out in the community to know that this program is out there to support them. And then for those individuals who are interested in making a difference in their community, there's so many young women out there, so many young Latinas who have the intelligence to keep going, and they just need that encouragement. And by contributing to this program, you make a difference in someone's lives, and not only that, but in our own community.
When I decided to become a financial advisor, someone close to me asked, can women even be good at that? Today, only 20% of financial advisors are women. I'm very thankful for those that came before me and forged this path. I'm also proud to be the youngest shareholder at Wacker Wealth Partners, where we're passionate about making a positive impact in the lives of our clients and our community members. We are honored to support the Women's Legacy Fund and its vision to invest in her.
JTS Modular is again pleased to support the Women's Legacy Fund and the Community Foundation of San Luis Obispo. With the Women's Legacy Fund, we recognize the importance of assisting young women on their path in life. Our focus is to provide permanent, high-quality, custom-designed school facilities that help to create a positive learning environment for all students. Our recent projects on the Central Coast, in Guadalupe, Arroyo Grande, Nipomo, Grover Beach, and Greenfield, are examples of better facilities promoting better student success. Join us in supporting the work of the Women's Legacy Fund today and into the future.
Pacific Premier Bank is a longtime supporter of the Community Foundation's Women's Legacy Fund.
Over the past 2 years, our bank has donated nearly $500,000 toward efforts to improve the lives of women, children, families, and individuals living in our community.
I'm pleased to serve on the advisory committee for the Women's Legacy Fund to further their mission and help build strong relationships in our community.
On behalf of Pacific Premier Bank, I'd like to thank Jeanette for her service, as well as thank the Women's Legacy Fund for their ongoing contribution. We are proud to support you.
We're very excited today about our speaker, Jill Bolster-White, who has over 30 years of experience in nonprofit operations and has served 28 years as an executive director. Jill currently serves as the executive director of Transitions Mental Health Association and has had an incredibly long and successful career as a member of many local nonprofits. Needless to say, we are excited Jill could take time out of her busy day to share her story with us.
I wanted to thank the Women's Legacy Fund for their 17 years of wonderful work focusing on the issues of girls and women in San Luis Obispo County. I'm Jill Bolster-White. I'm the Executive Director of Transitions Mental Health Association, and we're here at Growing Grounds Farm. And our agency's mission has been to provide mental health services, education, and advocacy since 1954. A lot of the points in the Women's Legacy Fund's 2020 report actually reflect on the issues of mental health and the mental health of women and girls. One point I wanted to talk about was the growing incidence of chronic sadness amongst girls who are in the 11th grade. The number in the 2020 report showed that 48% of the girls surveyed indicated that they felt sad and that it had interfered with some of their regular activities. In addition to sadness, we know that anxiety and depression also take place in adolescence, and at twice the rate in girls as they do in boys. This trend is absolutely in line with what we're seeing nationally, statewide, and locally. Women are facing more mental health challenges than ever before, and it's important that we talk about some of the statistics and some of the ways that we can address them. Keep in mind that twice as many women as men experience depression in their lifetime. 1 out of 9 women over the age of 18 will have a serious episode of depression, and women are twice as likely to experience anxiety disorders and panic disorders than men. So it's hard for us to talk about the issues of mental illness without also describing the concomitant impacts of economics. The Women's Legacy Report examines the tie between economics and chronic sadness. In San Luis Obispo County, females who work full-time earn 68 cents for every dollar earned by men. 29% of female heads of household with no male partner or husband who have children at home are living in poverty. Their median income is half of what the United Way reports is the living wage for people to meet their basic financial needs here in San Luis Obispo County. The Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration shows that those risk factors, those economic risk factors, can have a major impact on mental health. According to the Centers for Disease Control, twice as many females as males attempt suicide. And in high school students, their self-reported rates of suicide were again twice that of boys. So let's talk about mental health treatment. What mental health treatments are the most effective? We know that psychotherapy and medication is tremendously helpful. We also know support groups, mindfulness exercises, physical activity, and healthy eating, many of the things we should all be doing all the time, are also helpful and low-cost ways that people can assist in maintaining their mental health. According to the World Health Organization, women and girls seek help from their primary care physicians or their pediatricians. Men are more likely to seek help directly from a mental health provider. We want to help bridge that divide. We want to help equip primary health care and pediatricians to know how to navigate the mental health system. Research shows that the earlier symptoms are detected and treated, the better the outcomes in the long run. So it's really important and incumbent upon us, especially with our adolescent girls, to make sure we're able to recognize those signs. Another barrier that we've been working to eliminate at Transitions Mental Health Association is stigma. We know that if the stigma of mental health and mental health treatment remains, that prevents women and girls from talking about their symptoms, from talking about how they're feeling, and from seeking the mental health care that's really going to help them thrive. So what do we do about all of this? There are some really important resources we can invest in and some long-term strategies for mental health treatment, crisis access, so that when people are having a mental health crisis or they need immediate access to mental health care, we have those facilities and resources here in San Luis Obispo County. But the other thing we can more simply do is just talk about mental health, to be open about how we're feeling, to be able to talk openly about our experiences and make mental health part of our normal conversation. That can go a long way to dispelling the stigma, to making this conversation one that's natural and normal to have. If we can each take the time to reach out to people who we know who may be struggling, someone who may be drinking more alcohol, using substances, who's maybe withdrawing, who's maybe reacting with more anger or more anxiety than usual, those are signs that that person might need your help, and I would deputize each of you to take that responsibility seriously, to think about who in your circle, in your family, and the people you care about and who you love might need you to help reach out and gently direct them to mental health resources that will help them. One of the silver linings of this pandemic is that it's actually opened the door for us to think about and talk about mental health more than I think we ever have before. We can see the impact of not socializing and connecting with others. We can see the impact of not getting treatment and care for our mental health. So that, I think, has opened the door for these conversations to take place. I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to keep talking about mental health, to talk about your own feelings, and help people get to the treatment that they need. I want to thank the Women's Legacy Fund for bringing these issues to light, for opening up the conversation about mental health, and working so hard to improve the outcomes for women and girls in San Luis Obispo County.
Hi, I'm Rob Garcia with Garcia Wealth Management Group.
And I'm Carolyn Herzog with Compass Financial Planning.
We were both inspired by all that the Women's Legacy Fund does to support women and girls in our community. We believe that we all benefit from gender and racial equality.
We've teamed up to do our part to support women and girls through researching gender lens investment options that we can use to help serve our clients who are interested in investing with equality and opportunity in mind.
Invest in her.
Invest for her.
Founded in 1942 by local educators, Cesslock Federal Credit Union has a strong commitment to education. As women become leaders across the county, the state, and the nation, access to robust and meaningful financial education is essential. CESLOC invests in local women and girls, providing financial seminars and online webinars specifically designed for women, as well as K-12 education grants and a high school financial scholars program for local youth. We're proud to support the Women's Legacy Fund.
The 2020 grant cycle focused on empowering women and girls. Empowering comes in many forms. These grants focus on mental wellness, health, safety, and future security. We are happy to announce that the Women's Legacy Fund granted $56,500 to 4 programs supporting women and girls in our county. This year's grant recipients have the additional task of making their programs work during these unprecedented times.
A $20,000 grant was given to Community Action Partnership of San Luis Obispo County for their CALM, Cultivating Awareness, Living Mindfully program. The CALM project will use a small group curriculum to teach young women at Nipomo High School strategies for overcoming adversity and building resilience. Participants will work with a CAPSLO health educator and peers to learn skills for identifying and managing emotions like stress and depression, develop positive support systems, and serve as role models.
Another $20,000 grant goes to RISE for their sexual assault and domestic violence counseling program. This program will provide survivors of intimate partner violence and sexual assault and their loved ones in SLO County with no cost individual and group therapy offered in both English and Spanish. The vast majority of their clients are considered low income to very low income. Due to the high cost of counseling, without access to RISE's therapy services, they would be unable to receive the mental health support that they require to heal.
SLO NOR Foundation received $11,500 for women's health and preventative care for uninsured Latinas in San Luis Obispo County. This grant will support uninsured women in the area by increasing the awareness, availability, and capacity of services that accommodate SLO NOR's largely Hispanic and low-income female population.
And our last grant is for $5,000 to the Aspire Academy. The Aspire Academy program is a 4-day leadership camp providing high school-age girls hands-on experience in public safety careers. Aspire Academy gives girls the opportunity to experience firefighting, emergency operations, techniques, and law enforcement operations while connecting with women currently in these professions, as well as other women working in non-traditional roles.
An additional rapid response grant of $10,000 went to Stand Strong in April to support victims of domestic partner violence during the pandemic. Those emergency funds were made possible due to the generosity and trust of our donors to help when there was a desperate need in our community.
Hello, my name is Betsy Umhofer, and I am a member of the Women's Legacy Fund Advisory Board. For many people, San Luis Obispo County offers an ideal quality of life. However, even here, some women and girls struggle to meet their basic needs. The goal of this report is to shine a light on some of the facts of life that deserve our community's attention. As a result of the current pandemic, the local problems that provide essential support to women need more funding support than ever before. Since 2010, the Women's Legacy Fund has commissioned 3 community needs assessment reports. The information gleaned from these reports is used by WLF and our community partners to make decisions regarding grants, to stimulate funding support, and generate conversations about the highest needs in our community. This year, we are so grateful to local philanthropist Joan Gellert Sargent for helping to underwrite the expense of this year's report. The 2020 Women's Legacy Fund report reviews the demographics of all 138,000 females living in our county, and it highlights findings on the issues of economics, child care, safety, and reproductive health and mental health. The main focus is on 3 specific populations that have the highest needs: teens, seniors, and Latinas. This year, the Women's Legacy Fund has chosen to focus on economic stability and mental health of women and girls in our county. Just a few highlights from this report. There are more than 13,000 teenage girls in our county. A large number of girls report chronic sadness, feeling unsafe, and being cyberbullied. More than 48% of 11th grade girls say they felt so sad or hopeless almost every day for at least 2 weeks last year that they stopped doing some of their usual activities. That alarming number grew by 41% for 11th graders over the last decade. Latinas make up 31% of the female teen population and account for 82% of teen births. 29% of Latinas 25 and older have no high school diploma or GED compared to the 8% of non-Latinas. Latinx families are nearly 3 times more likely to live in poverty than non-Hispanic families. And 35% of Latina householders with no husband present live in poverty. The United Way Real Cost Measure describes the minimum annual earnings needed by a household to afford the cost of living in an area. In San Luis Obispo, the real cost for a single parent with 2 children, one of whom is in childcare, is $71,580. In contrast, the actual median income for a female head of household, no husband with children, was $32,986 in 2017. These are just a few focal points of What Do Women Need 2020. You can read the entire report at this website on the screen. Join us today in making a gift to the Women's Legacy Fund to improve the lives of women and girls in our county. You can make a difference with your impactful donation. When you invest in women and girls, you invest in stronger, more stable families and communities. You develop capable workers, people who produce more, save more, and spend more right now and 30 years from now. You raise a generation of healthier kids with brighter futures, and you lower the cost of everything from public safety to social services to healthcare. Thank you for listening and for supporting the Women's Legacy Fund.
Hello, I'm Sandy Dunn, and I'm here with my husband, John. We are honored to be with so many of you today to support the Women's Legacy Fund at the Community Foundation. We are all here because we care passionately about women in our community, especially those in need of assistance.
During a 43-year career in city management, I worked with community members to serve our citizens and to improve our communities. Service to others is one of the best things that people do in their lives. We are blessed that we have such a strong sense of community in San Luis Obispo County. There are many people out there who are not nearly so fortunate as we are. Anything we can do to help those in need shows our love for others.
When I learned about the creation of a women's fund back in 2003, I immediately knew in my heart that I needed to be a part of this group that would support women and girls across San Luis Obispo County. As a founding legacy leader, I am so impressed with the impact our grant funding has had the past 16 years. We have supported programs that have provided educational opportunities for economic independence, health and wellness to the economically disadvantaged, counseling for survivors of domestic abuse and sexual assault, shelter for displaced mothers and children, clothing for young girls, scholarships for young women, and so much more.
This funding would not be possible without the generous support of our community. By donating to the Women's Legacy Fund, you can be assured that your gift is an investment in not only women, but in their fathers, husbands, brothers, sons, and others. Studies have shown that what you do for women is good for the world around them.
There are several ways that you can support the Women's Legacy Fund. We have more than 450 donors who have generously donated $1,000 or more to the fund to become legacy leaders. Many of these contributors also give $250 or more each year to sustain the fund. And as our friend Jane Sinton explained earlier, we also offer a Young 100 Legacy Leader program for our 40-year-old and under friends who are starting their own journey of philanthropy.
You can also choose to make a donation in honor or to memorialize someone you care for. Perhaps you have a daughter or a granddaughter that should be a legacy leader. The options for support are endless.
In honor of the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote, we encourage you to be one of the 100 donors to the Women's Legacy Fund this week. You can give a heartfelt gift of $100, $250, or even a bountiful contribution of $1,000.
Your donation will ensure that the Women's Legacy Fund can continue to give grants where they are most needed. In these challenging times, the need for financial support for essential programs supporting women and girls is more important than ever. Together, we can make a difference.
The author John Holmes wrote, "There is no exercise better for the heart than reaching down and lifting people up." John and I encourage you to exercise your heart and join us in supporting the Women's Legacy Fund by making your donation today. Thank you.
Remember, you can donate now at tinyurl.com/WLF donate.
Now we want to welcome Heidi McPherson, CEO of the Community Foundation, San Luis Obispo County.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Women's Legacy Fund Invest in Her virtual event. I am Heidi McPherson, CEO of the Community Foundation, San Luis Obispo, and I'm delighted to be part of this video project to thank you all for being a part of this very important initiative, but also to share a little bit of information about the Community Foundation overall. As you heard from a few people before me, you know that the Women's Legacy Fund was established by the Community Foundation quite a few years ago with the vision of building a permanent endowment to support women and girls forever in our community. So the idea of an endowment is that you have a permanent savings account, that you never spend the principal, but you just spend a portion of what it's earned. And that way the endowment will grow and grow and grow, and there will always be funds available for Women's Legacy Fund and the Community Foundation to award to nonprofit agencies who do such great work serving our women and girls. Because you know, if we can change the lives of women and girls, we can also touch the lives of men, boys, and entire communities. So it's really such a vital, vital component. And the Community Foundation, we're very proud of our work with the community, with the Women's Legacy Fund, and we think that it's a very important component of the work that the Community Foundation does overall. Just to give you an idea, the Community Foundation is now 22 years old, and we award somewhere between $3 and $5 million a year. Our assets are over $66 million, and the Women's Legacy Fund is a critical part of that endowment. So I really want to thank you for being a part of today's event, which is very exciting and a first for so many of us. And also thank you for joining us in supporting women and girls in our communities. It makes such a big difference. When we all come together, we can have a much larger impact so that we can invest in her continually. Thank you.
Thank you to our lead sponsors for their generous support, and we hope you've enjoyed their testimonials that you've seen during this event. We want to thank all of our event sponsors for their support. You will find their names listed at the end of this show and on our website. Visit our website.
This current time in history is incredibly challenging. Women are disproportionately impacted by the pandemic due to the multiple roles they have in life as caretaker, worker, mother, and more. Women need our support now more than ever. Making sure that there are programs available to help keep women healthy, strong, supported, educated, and looking forward to the future is why this fund exists. We are shooting for 100 gifts to celebrate 100 years of the 19th Amendment. Can you help us get there? It's time to stand up for women again. It's up to us.
In closing, we hope all of you will support us today by either becoming a legacy leader, donating to sustain your legacy leader status, or make a donation to Women's Legacy Fund. Please visit tinyurl.com/WLF donate to donate.
You can become a legacy leader for $1,000, payable within 1 year. Sustain your legacy leader status with an annual donation of $250 or more. Sign up to become a Young 100 legacy leader, 40 or under please, for as little as $28 a month for 3 years. You can set up bill pay through your bank, which is the easiest way to do it. At the end of this program, we will have a screen with ways you can donate to the fund, so don't worry, this is easy.
Remember, don't stress out about the exit, because you should be home.
Wear a mask, register to vote, and stay strong, San Luis Obispo.
We love you.
Bye.
See clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that left me blind. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Yes, I can make it now. The pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I sit and watch the street turn dark. If you could only see the shadow you stretched across my heart. I told myself that it was me, but it's you, you see. It's you, you see. The stars lit up the blackened nights, just like the memories of a happy time, another life. The light I saw in you's grown dim. I won't let your fear back in. I won't let it in. Time to decide how far away you'll leave your pride, 'cause she's here to stay. She is here to stay. You think that you're right and I'm wrong, but I can't face the truth and I'm stuck here in this all alone. But I know something you'll never find. You already left it behind. You left it behind. Time to decide how far away is calm, and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. Oh, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand